All right, awesome. I think we're live. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. This is Cascading Permissions. This session we're going to learn about how to extend the functionality of native roles and filtering. My name is Tom Leverone. I am a senior solutions consultant here at QuickBase. And today, we're going to learn a not so obvious way to help kind of scale some applications in terms of the number of roles, the number of reports, and the number of dashboards that you need to create. I've heard this also referred to as table-based permissions. That's fine. When I was taught as cascading permissions, that's just what I call it, but I think there's a few different names out there. But the concept is sort of the same regardless of what it's being called. This is my second year presenting this topic, so excited to be doing this again. Again, not very obvious, but it comes in handy in special cases and can really cut down on some of that administrative time that some folks have to go through with the number of users, number of roles, number of reports that they manage. Today's going to be interactive, mostly going to be building. We'll have a few slides to get through. Hour and a half is more than enough time, so we'll be able to get through those slides quickly, get into some building, and then probably go back and if anyone's confused on anything, we'll take our time through that building part and make sure everybody understands those concepts. So we'll jump into it. Okay, so just quick disclaimer, the session is being recorded, as are all of our Empower sessions. You'll be able to rewatch this one along with the others on QuickBase University within the coming days. Like I said, we will be building today. So if you stumbled into this session, I assume that you have some ability to create roles and reports, and you've done that before. If not, you don't have building permissions within your account, that's okay. Just take a second and go to quickbase.com/builder-program. That'll get you signed up for a free account. Use personal email address. Free account, you'll be able to go to the Exchange, grab the sample application we have set up, and then you'll be able to build along with us. So really short form, you can get that really quickly. So again, if you don't have that ability to build or grab Exchange apps, go ahead and do that quickly now. Review the session, right? So we have a survey widget this year. We love your feedback. I mentioned this is my second year presenting this topic, so hopefully you guys are getting a better presentation based on some of the feedback we got last year, and love to get more this year, continue to improve on that. A little bit about me. My name is Tom Leverone. Again, I'm a senior solutions consultant with QuickBase. I've been with QuickBase for 5 years. This will be my 4th year leading an Empower session. And my role is all about kind of helping prospective customers learn more about QuickBase from the technical side of things. So that means demos, collaborative building sessions, answer any technical questions, security questions, that sort of stuff. So cascading permissions is something that I was taught pretty early on in my role, and I've used throughout my time as a solution consultant. So excited to bring that to a large group of you today. So before we even get into what is, cascading permissions, let's kind of learn about when you sort of need it, right? Well, what are some of the symptoms that you could benefit from cascading permissions here? One, you're having trouble restricting permissions for limited users. So a really common scenario is maybe you have like contractors or some limited role that you're assigning to, we'll say like tasks, right, for a project. And you only want them to see tasks that are associated to them, which is pretty easy, right? Most of us have probably done that before. That's just kind of the basic roles and permissions functions there. But what if we want to go like a level up, right? So, you have tasks, but you don't have tasks for every single project. So we want to restrict the projects you see to just projects you have tasks for, right? So it's a step harder, and it gets a little bit more confusing. Maybe you have too many roles with similar functions, or you've copied and tweaked reports over and over again, right, with little variations. So this is sort of the same idea, whether it's roles or different reports, right? You've basically just copied the role, maybe changed 1 or 2 filters on it, and then you're copying it over and over again to sort of compensate for slight variations in terms of what people should be seeing and having access to within QuickBase. Same thing with reports, right? So what reports do you see maybe on your dashboard? Two people's dashboards are, they're in similar roles, but it's slightly different, maybe based on their location or something like that. If we don't do it in an efficient way, we're going to end up just copying roles and reports, and we're going to have a lot of sort of manual tasks and manual sort of administrative things we have to go through every time we need to change something. Okay. And then maybe you just have user fields all over your app, again, sort of redundant in terms of just double assigning things across different levels. We're not using the database, the structure to our advantage in that way. And that could be a sign that we're using, we would benefit from cascading permissions there. Okay. So of course, what is cascading permissions? Right. So I've sort of struggled to define it in this way. Just kind of speaking a definition, it's sort of an abstract concept. So if this doesn't make sense after I go through this quick definition here, that's okay. Again, it's sort of a weird thing. So once we go through the example, I think it'll be really, really clear what we're doing, and then maybe someone can help out with a better definition if it isn't clear. But what is cascading permissions, right? Cascading permissions is a building technique that allows QuickBase to identify the individual user on a table and base permissions or filtering off of the table information. So it's a building technique, right? It's not in the settings. We don't switch it on, right? It's something we kind of have to build into our application, into our structure, right? And then we're identifying the individual user. That's sort of, I think, the abstract part, which we'll go through what that means. And then we're basing permissions off of the table information, right? So that could be sort of within the table. It could be related tables. Again, we'll go through that. And in certain situations, cascading permissions allows us to cut down on the number of roles and reports needed in an app, right? So again, we'll go through and you guys will see some examples. We'll build out an example on our own, and hopefully everyone will have a good understanding of just what we're talking about here. Okay. So a quick example of a really common filtering challenge. I went through sort of at a high level with the signs, but just let's get a little bit more specific and let's get some a real scenario with real numbers, right? So here's our situation, right? We're talking about a CRM, right? So sales reps are using QuickBase for a CRM. Sales reps are spread across 5 locations, right? So we have multiple locations, multiple branches, whatever we want to call it. It could even be departments, right? Segments, right? Whatever. We're spread across like 5 sort of subsections, right? And then thinking of, okay, maybe their dashboard, we want to create a dashboard, right? And we've picked 8 reports. We want everyone to see these 8 reports on their dashboard, but we want to kind of filter that. We want to tweak that slightly based on, in this case, their location. But again, it could be department, could be branch, could be any subgroup there, right? So what are our options to do that, right? With sort of our common filtering, or right, you click users, you click manage roles, and we click reports and customize reports, right? Without doing cascading permissions, what does that look like? We can create some roles, right? So reps can view or edit only opportunities to their location, right? That could help us out. Or we could create individual reports, right, that filter by that location, right? So that's sort of the 2 paths, and we'll dig into that a little bit more in the next slide. But just right, we can kind of take it from a roles perspective or a reports perspective, right? And what would each of those mean? Okay, well, if we went roles, that means we have five locations. We're going to create a role, copy that role, right, for each location, and then in our sort of manage roles, our filtering within the role, we're going to pick location is equal to, right, or whatever that subgroup is, that department is equal to, right? And we're gonna hard code their location or their department or their branch in there, right? In that case, we got 5 roles, right? We copied it over and over again. Okay. Same idea with reports, right? We have 8, right? We want to copy, right? And now each of those 8 reports for same idea, we're going to copy it and then change that filter so location is equal to fill in the blank, whatever that location is, right? In that case, we would need 40 reports, right? So there's 8 sort of per location. We have 5 different roles, 5 different locations. We need to copy those 5 times, which 8 times 5, that equals 40. And then ultimately, right, kind of bring this all together for the dashboard, which is ultimately what we're looking to do. Well, if we went with roles, there's only 1 dashboard, so that's not too bad, right? But the trade-off there is we've gone into the roles that you can only see or edit what's associated to your location. And maybe we don't want that, right? Maybe you want them to be able to see other locations, right? I travel and I'm going to work with this branch for a couple of months or something like that. Or maybe, it's helpful to kind of see what other branches are up to and make sure we're going at the same pace. So one dashboard, not too bad, but there's 5 roles, and again, we've locked out the ability for them to maybe step in and help out with other locations. If we go the reporting route, well, they can, right? They can actually see other locations. They can view and edit other locations because we haven't gone into the role and said you can't see anything outside of your location. But we're creating 5 separate dashboards to accommodate those 40 separate reports, right? Those 5 sets of reports, right? So 5 dashboards, but they can edit things. So there's a bit of a trade-off both ways in terms of this. Maybe this is your scenario. Maybe you don't need them to edit things. So the first one, the rollout option, isn't too bad. But if you do want them to look at stuff, well, then you're going with the reporting option, and there's a lot of things we need to worry about there. And then taking a step further, well, that's the current situation. What if something's changed, right? What if our situation changed a little bit? What if we add new locations, right? If we want roles, copy that same role again, right? And copy it, tweak it, same thing. Reports, right? We take that set of 8, do another copy, and now we're sitting at 48 reports, right? For the now 6 locations that we have, right? What happens if we need to update the sales rep role, right? So we add a new field, or maybe there's a field in there that we should be restricting. We should be view only, should be hidden to sales reps, but it isn't right now. We have 5 separate roles for each location. We got to go to 5 separate sales rep roles and update basically the same thing on all of those, right? Same idea with reports, right? We want to tweak one. Hey, we want to label this axis differently. I got to go do that for every set that we have now. So I'm doing 5 exact same reports, essentially doing that same customization for whatever that tweak's going to be. Okay, and then a little bit more kind of complex scenario. Well, what if we want someone to see multiple locations, right? So like a regional manager, a regional sales rep, we want them to see these 3, right? Well, we're going to have to kind of add another role to that list, or add another dashboard. And it's a special case. Now we're going to location is equal to either this place, or this place. So it's similar, but now we're adding a whole new sort of kind of group of users who we might need to account for if there's many people who have different combinations of reasons that they want to see. So hopefully, seeing all that, it's pretty clear, right? It's pretty clear how inefficient that is, right? So there's going to be a lot of sort of just tedious, updating and entry, regardless of which avenue you take, right? So of course, if we solve this with cascading permissions, you only need 1 role, not 5, right? Just one sales rep role. We only need 8 reports, right? So we don't need a new set for every single location. We just need, hey, these are the 8 they want to see. Doesn't matter where you are, you're a sales rep, right? You're going to see this report. And then it's just 1 dashboard. Okay. Quick disclaimer, I guess, with our new, hopefully everyone went to the keynote. And if you haven't seen our new dashboards yet, right, we talked about that in there. I believe it's open beta now, so everybody can go create those. I guess there's now a third option for this, where you would create the new dashboard with the whole dashboard filters. You can have a filter option for their location. So in that case, right, you could conceivably just have 1 dashboard, but you're making the sales rep filter it to their location every time, which most people wouldn't want to do, but technically, right, that would be a third option. Cascading permissions, I think, would still be the benefit, right? In that case, we're still just talking about dashboards. Permissions could be, related to dashboards, but also, their actual kind of view and edit rights within the application, which is going to be important for some folks to lock down what's important, right? Okay. So how do we build this out, right? How do we build out our cascading permissions, right? So there are 4 steps. Pretty simple, right? Pretty simple. A little bit abstract, but again, we'll go through it. We'll make sure everybody understands it, and we'll build it out together, right? So the first step is we need a user table, right? So a table where we're storing our user information, there needs to be a user field in there, right? This could be called sales rep. We use that previous example. It could be called resource. It could be called team member. It could be called employee. It could be called user, up to us. It needs to have 1 column that is a user field, and each of our users is going to be basically associated with 1 row in that table, right? Number two, we need a current user formula field. This is the part that I think makes it abstract and makes it hard to sort of conceptualize. I think in just like a written definition is we actually need to, on our user table, create a formula field that checks the current user who's logged in. So I put my username and password into QuickBase. It knows who I am, and it's going to check every record on that table and said, are you this person, yes or no, right, for every single one. Right? So again, that's the part that can be a little tricky. Going through the example, I think it'll become more clear. Okay. Once we have that current user field, we cascade. That's where the naming convention kind of comes from there. So we're going to bring that user field through our relationships to other tables via lookup fields and summary fields. Right? So we're going to bring that around, and anywhere that touches that user field, any tables that have a direct or indirect relationship, right? It can go through a few different levels. We're going to bring that user field around our application. Okay. And after that, we just need to start our filters, right? Go to our roles, update those, go to reports, update those, and filter based on that user fields and the summary and lookup versions of those user fields. Okay. Right. So it is time to build. So we are going to have two situations. One of them pretty similar to what we just did, and another kind of simpler version. So the first one we're going to go through is sort of a project management example. So in our world, projects, tasks are created for projects, and we have teams, right? So we have project teams, and we have our users are assigned to those teams, and then tasks are just assigned to those teams, right? So it's not individual users aren't getting tasks in this case. It's going to be going to the whole team, and we want to say, hey, if you're on this team, you're in this role, you can only see tasks that are assigned to your team. You can't see, or maybe you can update other teams' tasks, right? So we'll go through that scenario. And then sort of a bit smaller with 3 locations here to the example we just went through with sales reps and sort of a CRM, right? So there's 3 locations here. Sales reps are assigned opportunities. We want to create our dashboard, right, with our different kind of roles, different reports on our dashboard, and it's filtered to that sales rep's location, right? So those are the 2 scenarios we'll go through. If you don't know where the app exchange is, right, this is how you can get to it. So again, if you've just opened up a Builder account, you probably won't have any apps on your My Apps page, but if you look on that sidebar, like that, the left hand of this slide here, you can see Exchange is highlighted there. And then on the right side, right, that Explore Sample Apps button, that's sort of what most people will see. So go ahead, go there. I will pause for a minute and let everybody go. If you just search Empower 2021, Cascading Permissions, you'll find the application. You probably just search Cascading Permissions as well. So I'll pause for like 30 seconds. Hopefully that's enough time for everybody to go grab that. And then we'll pause there. I will, I'll take a look at the attendee chat if anybody needs more time once I get started. We'll pause quickly, but please go grab that application and we'll start building. All right, so hopefully everyone was able to grab that application. Let me know in the chat if you need another minute. Like I said, we've plenty of time today. I'm not worried about running out of time. We'll be able to go through it, answer some questions, go back to any steps if we need to. Let me start sharing my screen. Nobody said wait in the chat yet, so we'll assume we're good to go. All right. So I just started sharing, so no need to go here on your application. You should be seeing the relationship diagram of the sample application. And And when you grab an app from the Exchange, this isn't organized. So just watch my screen here. You don't need to go here on your screen. Just to go through, right, those scenarios, we just went through them on the slide, but I think visually kind of seeing what we're going through is helpful. So this is the first scenario, right, the sort of the project side. And you look at the tables, you can see, just kind of imagine a line right here. So this is kind of like two apps squished together, but we'll go through both of those. So this first one here, right, we got projects. Projects are assigned to tasks. Project teams are the ones assigned to those tasks. And project resources, which is our user table, right? That's the most important step there. So we have a user table, the first step rather. Project resources are assigned to teams, right? We'll come back to it before, but just a sneak preview, right? This side here, this is the CRM side. We got sales reps as our user table. Sales reps are assigned to locations, right? And in this case, right, if you're a experienced builder, you'll kind of recognize this as a many-to-many relationship between sales reps and locations. So in this world, that kind of scenario where, hey, it's like you're like a regional rep, right? You need to see multiple locations. That's what we're sort of accounting for in this one. So this side is a little bit simpler. Most of you, if you do have a need for cascading permissions, you'll probably be fine with this. But there are some people who might need a little bit more complex of an example. And that's why we have this one here to kind of show that. So again, sales reps assigned to locations could be one, could be multiple. Sales reps are assigned to opportunities, and customers are kind of assigned to those or associated with those opportunities there. So that's what we're going to go through, right? So the first thing we're going to do, right, is we're going to go to our user table, which in the first example is our project resource. So everyone go ahead and click on project resources. And hopefully, once that loads, everybody sees their own name in there, right? So when you grab an App Exchange app, it'll kind of throw you into the application and hopefully see your name. So go ahead and click on your name there, click view, right? So we're viewing that record, and there should be just two fields, resource, which we see your name, and that's that user field, right? And then which team you're associated to, right? In this case, start with planning, okay? So what we're gonna do first is we are going to right click, and we're going to create that current user field, right? So that's that current user formula. That's going to be first thing we do once we have our user table. So go ahead and right click over project team, doesn't totally matter as long as you get this quick sub menu here and click add a field. We'll click after this one is fine, right? So that's just going to be where it's going to be on the form. Not really big deal there. And it looks it's okay. Diane's having trouble with the app. So, just really quickly, we'll jump out. Chris or Evan, would you mind helping out there, sending a link or just exactly what you can search to see it. Anyone else have trouble finding the app? I only see the DIY app. All right, I see Chris is answering. So Diane, hopefully you get that. If you need to, we'll come back to these initial steps. Right, so again, back to the project resources table, right click, add a new field, and we're going to create our current user field. So click add that. We're going to create new fields, and we'll just name it current user. Okay. And then the field type is going to be a formula numeric. Right, so go ahead and pick that. So I'll pause there for a second. Just current user, formula numeric. So once you have that, go ahead and click done, and we'll see a blank field, right? We haven't defined the formula yet, so it's not doing anything. It should just be blank. So once we have that, we are going to right click over that brand new field that we just created. And we're going to come down to the bottom here to edit the field properties for this field. That will let us edit the formula, right? So go ahead and click on that, and I'll wait here a couple seconds so people can flip. I don't know if people are on one monitor flipping back and forth, but again, just right click over that new field, edit the field properties for this field. Once you click on that, we have this formula box, and we're going to define that current user formula. So again, we want to check who that current user is. We want to see if they are the user, right, on this user record, right? So the way we can do that is we're going to use a couple functions, right? So first, if anyone's using an if statement, right, we're going to use that to go ahead and click formulas or functions. Go ahead down to F, click insert. If you're experienced, you can just type in if and then a couple parentheses if you've done this before. But when you pick it from the function list, it gives you the syntax, which can be helpful. So our condition, Boolean condition 1, we only need one condition. That's all we're worried about. Let's get rid of that. And we're going to go back to select a function. Right? So choose field and functions again, select a function. And there is a function called user, right? So go ahead to that one. The description returns the user currently accessing the database, right? So that's what we want there. So go ahead and click insert on that. There's no input there. It is just an open and close parentheses. You don't need to add anything to it, but go ahead and click on insert, right? And then make sure we're to the right of that parenthesis, right? Well, it says Boolean condition, right? So we're checking something is true or false. So if user, I'll do space equals space. Spacing is not required, just helps read it. Choose fields and functions again. And that resource field is that user field, right? So that's what we're going to pick there, right? So we'll pick that. And then any results, just get rid of all that. We'll say 1, 0. So your formula should look like this when it's done. So if user is equal to resource, if that's true, what's the value going to be? We're going to have a 1, right, in this current user field. If that's not true, meaning I'm a user, I'm not looking at the right record, or it's not my record there, right, we're going to see 0 because that's not me. So hopefully yours looks like this. If you, and you don't need to type in this part, just a little kind of conceptual help. If you think about it, right, I'm a user, right? So QuickBase kind of knows who I am, and my username for QuickBase is just Leverone, right? The user field is going to be the username for whatever user is selected, right? So in this case, if I'm looking at my record, it's going to be Leverone, right? So does Leverone equals Leverone? Yes, right, ... We're going to have a 1 for current user, right? So user, that's going to stay me as long as I'm logged in. But if I'm looking at someone else's record, right? So we have, I think we have like an Albert Cruz in here, which is a common fake user. But so it's A Cruz, that's not true, right? That doesn't equal. This isn't the same person, right? So now it's going to show as a 0, right? So that's sort of what we're doing ultimately, and that's QuickBase is going to do that calculation, that formula for every single row in our user table, right? So let's go ahead and get rid of that. So we just see this. Hopefully everybody has this at this point. If user, open and close parentheses, equals resource, give me a 1. If not, give me a 0. Right? So we can click save on that. That should take us right back to our user record, right? So we should see now a 1 in current user. And just to make sure it works, let's click back to project resources to get back to that table homepage. So now we're seeing the full table. And the field might have been added automatically. If it didn't, go ahead and on the project team column, click show more columns and just pick, hey, show that current user field. And you should see what you're seeing on my screen here, right? So next to our name, we see a 1 because that's me. I am logged in. QuickBase knows that I'm logged in. It knows this is a user field, right? It's matching that up. Great, this is you. We're going to put a 1 there. These other users, we're not them. So we have a 0. Okay? That's that first step, or rather that second step, sorry. First step is the user table, which is project resources. Step number 2, that current user field. So now we have everything we need to go start bringing this around, right? So we're going to go to our settings. We're going to go to the relationship between project teams and project resources. So if you remember, on our user, right, that injected us into the application, right now we are a part of the planning team, right? So basically the end result we're trying to get to is, hey, I can only see, or maybe I can edit tasks related to the planning team, right? So that's what we're going to try to do there. So again, we're going to go to the table-to-table relationship between project teams and project resources. You should click settings, table-to-table relationships if you were on the project resources table already, and then go ahead and click into that relationship. And this is sort of the cascade aspect, right, of the permissioning. So that current user field is currently, right, it's sitting on our project resources table. It's sitting, and there's just one, right? We only show up one time, so we see, one spot, that's us, and we're assigned to the project team. So we want to be able to see at the team level, hey, where's the current user assigned, right? So that current user field is in project resources. We want to bring it up to project teams, right? Going here to here, that's going to be a summary field. So we'll click Add Summary. And this part's actually sort of new, right? So again, I mentioned it this last year. Last year, we would have done something differently where we would total that current user field. We have this new, whether there are any project resources related to that project team, which is going to be more efficient for QuickBase. So you won't see a ton of kind of improvement in this small sample application. But if you have larger applications where there's lots and lots of tasks, lots of users, this is going to allow your application to be faster, right? If you do kind of run into kind of larger scaled use cases. So we're going to pick that, right? Whether there are any project resources related to that project team, but not just any, right? We want to see specifically where the current user, we'll say, is greater than 0. We could do is equal to 1. It's always just nice to have that, the piece of merit. So if we do mess up and there's a 2, but it's still us, right? We still should see that popping up. So current user is greater than the value 0. So what this is doing is it's checking, hey, we're going to look at a project team, and I'm checking any members of the project resources table assigned to that team, are any of them the current user? Right. So for planning, yes, there is. For the other teams, no, right? Because there's only one current user and we're not assigned to those other teams. So we're going to click create, and it's going to name this any project resources for us. And what I like to do here, this is more just for learning, less kind of functional. We probably wouldn't want this in our production application, but I just like to add a little bit of like help text. So what are we actually looking at here, right? So it's called any project resource, which tells us sort of it's this toggle here, whether any project resource related to that project team. From the project resources table, I'm going to space and add a parenthesis and just kind of explain, right, what this is. So what we're going to see here is we're going to see a checkbox next to planning and an empty checkbox next to the other teams. So what this tells us is current user is assigned to team, right? So just really simple. Again, it's going to be really wordy. It's confusing to other people who aren't on the setup side of things. But while we're learning it, I think it helps conceptualize what each step is actually doing. Right? So we're going to click OK. And we see that field there. We'll click Done. We'll click Exit. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to check, make sure that works. So let's click on the project teams table. See that full table. And again, if that new summary field isn't added automatically to the table, you can hover over one of the columns, click the little the 3 buttons there, click Show Columns, and then another benefit of making it kind of longer, it's easy to identify. It's probably the longest named field on there. So, right, we're seeing exactly what we wanted to, right? So our user is assigned to the planning team, right? So we see check next to planning. We're not assigned to development or testing or design, right? So I don't see that checkbox. Okay? So the last piece of this is well, we want to take this a step further, and we want to kind of bring that down to tasks, right? So I only want to see now a check mark next to tasks to the planning team, right? So that's the ultimate goal here. So we're going to do the same thing, right? We're going to click on Settings. We're going to go to Table-to-Table Relationships. Sean, I see your question. Once we get through this example, I can jump back to formula quickly. We're going to go to project teams to project teams to tasks, right? And now that current user field is on the project teams, we want to see it on tasks, right? So we're going here to here. That's going to be a lookup field, right? So we're looking up. So we're going to click Add Lookup Fields. Right, and should be right at the top there. Any project resource, parentheses, current user is assigned to team. We will click create. We'll rename it in a second once we actually see what it's doing. So we'll click done. Let's make sure it worked first. We're going to go same thing, exit settings. We're going to go to the task table homepage. So go ahead and navigate there. And again, think about what should we be seeing? Well, know who the current user is, you know the team the current user is planning. We should see a checkbox next to all tasks assigned to the planning team and an empty checkbox next to the other teams. So in my case, right, you can see it didn't add that column automatically. That's okay. I'm just going to click this three dots here, show more columns. And pick that search CU, right? Because current user, our little click initial there. We see that. Again, get real wordy, that's okay. Click apply. And again, we should see a checkbox next to all of the planning tasks and not the development tasks or testing or the other teams. Okay. So current user is assigned a team, that still works, right? But again, just to be helpful, let's click the three dots, let's click field properties and just rename that quickly. And we're just going to say, instead of current user is assigned to the team, we're not talking about a team anymore, we're talking about a task. So we're just going to say current user's team is assigned to task, right? So again, just click help text. When we see a checkbox in this column, we know that's what that means. The current user's team is the one that is assigned to this task. So go ahead and put that in there. If you want to keep up with that, those are sort of help texts. The current user's team is assigned to task. So once we have that, we can click save. And if we wanted to take it one step further, I don't know if we said this in the example. I think the example was more talking about the tasks. But if we wanted to go a step further and say, hey, your team can only see projects when there's tasks assigned to your teams, right? We would do the exact same thing, right? So you see the steps kind of repeat over and over again, right? Once we have the user fields, user table and the user fields, right? We're kind of just going to cascade around our different tables to make sure any table that we want to permission on is going to have that current user field in there. So back to table-to-table relationships between tasks and this time projects. So go ahead and go there. Projects to tasks. Okay. Again, current user field currently is on tasks, right? We see that checkbox next to the tasks. Okay. We want to bring that to projects. So we're going to go from here to here, which tells us the summary fields. Right, and we're going to do the same thing, right? Are there any tasks related to this project where our current user fields is checked, right? Are there tasks associated to this project that the current user's team is assigned to? Right, so go ahead and pick that. Okay. Same idea as that first kind of whether there are any tasks related to the project. The only difference is we're not saying is equal to or is greater than 0 or is equal to 1. We're just saying, hey, is it checked or not? Okay. So we'll go ahead and click create. That brings up actually another question I think we got last year. That current user field, and we'll go through that again in a second with the next example, but you could, I guess, theoretically use a checkbox there. Again, when I was taught this, it was a 1 or a 0, with that formula field and formula numeric field. It could be a formula checkbox, whether it's checked if it's the user or, not checked if it's not. I think the same thing, you'd be able to do all the same things. Some of your summary fields would be slightly different because you're not saying is greater than or equal to 1. We're going to say is checked or not, but that would definitely work. Okay. So we create our summary field. And again, what does this mean? Well, it means current user's team has at least one task for this project, right? So I'm sure there's a better way to word that. I'll click OK so you can see the full thing. But right, again, it's just helping us remember this is what it's actually doing. When I see that check mark next to a project in this column, it tells me that whatever team the current user is on, right, we're going to see, or there's a task, right, that the current user's team has associated to this project. So we'll click Done. And one more time, let's make sure that is working for us. Look at the settings, go to projects. And again, if it doesn't add automatically, go ahead and click those three dots, click Show Columns, find our really wordy column, should be easy to see. And you can see, so on my screen here, every single project except for this last row here has a planning task essentially, right? Because that's the team we're on. Okay. So hopefully this makes sense, right? We've cascaded, so we've done our user table, our user field, and we've cascaded that current user field all around. The last step would be to set the filters. In this example, we're talking about roles. So to do that, we are just going to click on Users. We'll go to Manage Roles. Right. And then we can go into Project Team Member, this already pre-made role for us. And it's pretty simple, right? So whether it's view or modify, right, that's sort of up to us if we want them to see other projects or edit other projects. But at the very least, right, we'll go to Tasks, we'll go to Modify All Records, and we want to have a custom role. And we want to show only tasks where that current user field, again, the longest named one there, is equal to checked, right? Just bring me down there. That's okay. Right, so that really long-winded fields, right, which is our current user fields at the task table, when that's checked, I can edit. Can't see the pop-up. I was curious about that. Let me thank you, Nicole, for pointing that out. I am going to stop, and I'm going to share again, and I'm going to share my whole window. Okay, so let's try that again. And okay, you guys can see now, perfect, awesome. So we'll do that again quickly. I didn't click save, right? Which conditions are true, right? We're gonna check that current user field, which I scroll down, easy to see because it's really long-winded. Current user's team is assigned to this task. When that's checked, I can edit that, right? So that's telling us, right, when the task is assigned to the planning team, we can edit that. We can do the same thing with projects. So again, so if I wanted to say, hey, you can only see projects where your team has a task, or edit in this case, same idea, custom rule. And you can only see projects where in project manager, it's fine. We can change that. Right. Any task current user's team has at least one task is equal to check, right? So if your team has at least one task, you can edit or update this project. You do the same thing for view. It's the exact same interface. If you haven't done roles and permissions before, you would see the exact same pop-up. It's just a difference between, is it read-only to me? Can I see it? Or can I change it? So in our case, you can see every task. We can see tasks the other teams are doing. If we're collaborating on projects, we want to see, when they finish, their side of it and when we're going to be ready. In this case, right, we're saying you could see it, but you only modified it if it's assigned to your team, which I think is probably the most realistic example there. Hopefully that all makes sense. The last piece on this example is just to again showcase sort of the value of this. We have one role. That was one role, right, for all of our project resources. And we're saying when you're assigned to a particular team, you can see that team's tasks. So let's go through that example where, what if we change teams, right? What if we change teams? Or what if a new team is created, right? You don't need to go change that role in any way. If the kind of core principles are remaining the same, you can only edit tasks that are assigned to you. But let's go here. Let's go to our project resources. It doesn't matter which team you pick, but just go ahead, pick your name on that project resources table, edit that record, and change your team from planning to something else. Doesn't matter which team, right? We're kind of showcasing that. So you go ahead, click on edit. And then we're going to change again from planning to whatever you want. Doesn't matter. Any of those changes will make sense. I'm just going to do development. It's the next one down. You pick again whatever one you want. Click save and close. So once you've selected a new team, go ahead and go look at the tasks tables, right? So internet started to slow down a little bit. Hopefully that's okay. Hopefully everyone can still hear me okay. Right, so now we're part of development. We see that. Let's go to tasks. And again, we don't see that check our user fields, current user field sort of checkbox in there automatically. Just go ahead and add that. So click little 3 dots, show more columns. And pick that current user field. So scroll down, current user's team is assigned to task. We click apply. And now instead of seeing a check mark next to planning tasks, we see development, right? So new people are added to teams, people change teams, new teams are even added, right? As long as we assign them on that project resource table, right? We use that user table as for that source of truth. We only need that one role, right? To update basically the settings for anyone on those teams, as long as it's that same principle applies, right? And Sean, sorry, let's go back for you to that formula. And it'll be good review for the next example with the sales rep. Again, it's a little bit more complicated, but it's the same basic principles. When we cascade, or the way we cascade is going to be a little bit more advanced, a little bit more abstract, but we'll be able to see that. So I'm just going to go back to this current user field to show that formula, and it'll be a good refresh for our next example as well. So we go back here. And if you've never used our functions before, we're using 2 functions, the if statement, right, which is similar to like a spreadsheet if statement, if anyone's used that, but not a quick-based if statement. And then there's a user field, right? So that user field is going to return the current user that's accessing the system, right? So when user, the current user, equals the user fields, right? The value in the user field in that user table, which we call the resource, right? That's how we get that 1. That's how we get that 0. And I just mentioned it. We have it as a formula numeric. We could do a formula checkbox as well. And this would just be, instead of a 1 and a 0, it would be true or false. But this is what it's going to look like. Again, a numeric field or a checkbox or whatever we prefer every single time. It's going to look like this, right? Awesome. So Farah, can you address the situation where a user is assigned to multiple teams? So we're going to do that in the sales rep table. So I'm glad you brought that up. So that's the whole reason we have this second one, second example there. So we'll be able to go through that. In our example, it's going to be, hey, a sales rep is assigned to multiple branches, kind of like a regional sales rep, but the same principles apply. Okay. So again, this is our user fields for anyone who needs it. User equals whatever the name of our user field is on our table. If that's true, give me a 1. If that's false, give me a 0. Okay. All right, so let's go and do that other example. And Farah, hopefully you'll see your question go through there, right? Okay, so again, we look at the second half, and actually, just to refresh, you don't need to go here on your screen. Again, I'm going to go back to that relationship diagram just to, again, kind of preface what we're going to do. No need to go there in your application because it's not going to be organized. It doesn't organize for you automatically when you go to grab an app from the exchange. So let's just really quickly, and I'm going to open this in a new tab. All right, so the one we just did, again, was the project side of things. If you were a little fuzzy before, okay, perfect. Project resources or user table. Top that off. Project teams, tasks, projects. So you can see right now that we actually did it, you can see the user field started here. We brought it up here, down here, and then up here again. Right, so that's sort of cascading. Right, so as long as this user field touches directly or indirectly the tables we need to permission on or filter on, we can do that, right? So in this example, right, we get sales rep, really similar, right? Similar initial steps, but the table structure is a little bit more advanced because we are going to, right, have this scenario where a sales rep can be assigned to multiple locations, right? So this is a little bit more advanced. This would be, its own Empower session, the concept of a many-to-many relationship. There's lots of videos on QuickBase University. I'm sure we've done other sessions on sort of more advanced relationships, but it's going to look like this, right? We're going to have a table in the middle of the two. So a sales rep could have many locations that are associated to, again, from like a regional perspective. And one location, right, there's going to be multiple sales reps, not just one sales rep per location, right? There could be a few associated to one location at the same time. So that gives us a many-to-many, which we manage that location assignment. So that's, you do need that part of it, right, in order to do this sort of this setup where, okay, there could be multiple departments, multiple teams that a user needs to access to. But once we have that, we'll be able to use that cascading permissions. Okay? And then once we have that, right, we're going to go down to opportunities. And then if we want to, we could go to customers. We'll probably just stop at opportunities. So we're going to go to sales reps. That's our user table. And we're going to do the exact same thing. So you see that current user formula is going to look pretty much the same, but our user field isn't called the resource here. I believe it's called sales rep, right? So let's click again into sales rep, and you can all, again, start following me again and click along with me here, right? So same as before, when we click project resource, we should see our own name. Let's go ahead and click into our own name. Doesn't matter if you click view or edit, because we are going to right click and we're going to add a field. Right? So again, same as we did before, click on sales rep, click on our name that QuickBase injects in there for you. We should be looking at the record form for our kind of sales rep record entry there. And we're going to right click, doesn't matter where, we do it title. This is just kind of where it's going to sit on the form, and add a new field, right? So again, right click, add a new field, create new field, same thing, we'll call it current user, and we will make it a formula numeric. Okay. So we're going to add that current user formula numeric type field to our sales rep table. Okay. Once we have that, done. And we're going to right click over our new fields. Right, so once that's there, that's loaded, right click. So we can click edit field properties for this field. That will let us get back to formula. So it's, again, going to look really, really similar. Sales rep is the name of our user field instead of resource. So that's really going to be the only change this time. Right? So same thing. We'll go if you like the helper sort of functions, you can go choose functions, select if, click insert. But if you've done this a few times, you know that you can kind of just type it in. So if user equals sales rep 1, 0. And again, same thing, user is a function. So you can type in user, open and close parentheses, it does the same thing. Or you can go select function, go down to user and click insert. It doesn't matter. This is just helpful because it kind of tells you what it's doing if you've never used it before. If there's input, it tells you what the syntax is and kind of the order of what your input should be. But in this case, there's no input. It just returns who you are. There's nothing you can do to kind of change that, the result of this. So you can just type it in. So I'll pause there. Hopefully everybody can get to that. And again, we just saw the project resource example. It's really, exactly the same there. Okay. So once we feel good about that, I'll look to the chat so we don't leave anyone behind again. Everyone good on this? Or I guess anyone need me to pause? Just let me know really quickly. Okay, awesome. No one said anything, so we'll assume we are good to go. So go ahead and click save. And same as before, we have our current user field. We should be looking at our own records, click on someone else's, right, so we don't see our name in sales rep. You should see a 0, but if you click on your own name, we should see a 1 there. And exact same thing, always want to make sure it's working the way we anticipate. So let's click on sales reps. Current user, right? Doesn't add there, go ahead and add that column, and we'll see next to our name, that 1, everyone else's name a 0. So far, exactly the same, right? Exactly the same as before. Here's the part where it gets a little bit trickier, right? Again, we take a look at the, I meant to keep the relationship diagram open, that's okay. The location and location assignments are sort of, it's a different type of relationship, right? It's many relationships. So we're gonna go to the settings, right, for our sales rep table, and we're gonna go same idea to start to our table-to-table relationships. And we're going to go to our sales rep to location assignments. Okay. So it starts a little bit differently. So the last time, our user field was the child table to the teams, the project teams table. So we started with the summary field, right? We said, hey, is the current user part of any of these teams, right? We created that. Sales rep and location assignments. Sales rep is the parent table. So we're going to start with a lookup, right? But it's sort of that same idea. So we'll run from sales rep to location assignments. We will click add lookup field, and we're going to pick that current user field. Right? So just select the field, current user. And we're not even going to rename it because it still makes sense, right? And we'll look at that table to actually see what it's doing. But sales rep dash current user, that's still right. The sales rep on this assignment is the current user. We don't need to rename that unless you want to. But if we click done and we go look at that table, exit settings. And we just want to click on the location assignments table. Okay. Same as before, right? The columns, if it doesn't pop up in there for you automatically, which it didn't for me this time, go ahead and add that. So just click those little 3 dots, show more columns. And it's going to be sales rep dash current user. So nothing is really too different at this point. We see our own name, we see a 1, we see other people's names, we see zeros, right? So far, so good, right? So now our current user field is on location assignments, which is a child table with 2 locations. So we're going to go and we're going to bring that up, right? So we'll click settings again, table to table relationships. And we're going to go to the locations to location assignments relationship. Okay. And again, our current user fields, currently in location assignments, we want to bring it up to locations, right? So I'm going this way. That's going to be a summary field. So we'll click add summary field. And we're going to pick this one again, whether there are any location assignments related to that location. And current user is greater than 0. Okay. So this should look familiar. This was sort of our first step, right, on the project side of things. It's, hey, you're assigned here. We want to know where the current user is assigned to. So we're going to see location. Don't remember in this example where our sales rep user is assigned, but we'll see that in a second. So we click create, and then again let's rename it, and let's say current user is assigned to location. So we're looking on the locations table. When there's a check in this column, we know that the current user has an assignment to this location. Click OK. I'll pause here. Everybody can hopefully catch up to this point if you are a little behind. Current user, again, current user is assigned to location. Okay. So once that looks good, as always, we want to check and make sure it's working. So we'll go to our locations table. And it added for me automatically there. Any location assignments, current user is assigned to location. We are assigned to San Diego, right? So that's where we're currently assigned to. So we see a check there and not the other 2 fields, or sorry, other 2 locations, right? This is the part where it gets trickier, right? So you just kind of think of what we did. Well, great, we know where they're assigned to. We know where the sales rep is assigned to. But opportunities are assigned to sales reps. They're not assigned to individual locations. Right. So the abstract kind of portion of this is, well, I guess ultimately what we want to do here is, in our case, we want to see all the opportunities that are assigned to sales reps who are assigned to San Diego. Right. So sales reps are the ones assigned opportunities, not locations, but sales reps have a tie to the locations based on the location assignments table, right? So this is the tricky part, right? We're actually going to go back into this relationship. Same one, locations to location assignments. Table to table relationships. And we're going to go to this one here. Okay. And again, another piece, a little abstract, but once you see what it's doing, it'll make sense if it doesn't click right away, right? So, okay, great. We went from location assignments to location. We're going to go back the other way, right? So our user, our sales rep user record is assigned to San Diego. That's done through this location assignments table. We go, yep, you're assigned to assignment to San Diego. We see it there. We're going to come back down right here. And what that's going to do, it's going to show us every sales rep assigned to San Diego. So we're going to add a lookup field. and we're going to pick the summary field we just created, right? So again, pretty abstract, right? We're going to pick that. Any location assignment, current user assigned a location. We're going to use that as the lookup field. We're going to click create, and we'll rename it quickly because this does not mean current user assigned a location. This means this sales rep has assignments, we'll say, has same assignments as current user. Okay, sales rep has same assignment as current user. Right? So that's that lookup field we just created, the lookup of the summary, right? So again, doesn't make sense, but you'll see it. Right, so click save. And let's go to our location assignments table, and let's take a look at what we just did. Okay. Go to location assignments. And I want to see both of those fields. I want to see the lookup field from the sales rep table, which is just sales rep dash current user. And I want to see that like any location assignment, right? So that the lookup of the summary we just created. So go ahead and add both of those. So click the little 3 dots, show more columns. You can do both at the same time. So we'll start with sales rep dash current user. And any location assignment, sales rep has the same assignment as current user. Right, so go ahead and pick both of those and click apply. Now, what we're seeing here, again, we already looked at this one. It was working fine, right? Sales rep current user is a 1 next to our name, is 0 next to everyone else. But when we look at this column here, we see Albert Cruz, who's also assigned to San Diego, has a check, right? So we went up to San Diego, right? We went up to the location, said, okay, right, you're part of San Diego. I'm going to put a check next to San Diego. And then when we bring that down, we said, okay, bring that check mark now next to everybody who is assigned to San Diego, right? So now I can see all of the sales reps that I have an assignment in common with, right? From this point, it's exactly the same as the project side of things. We just need to go from sales rep to opportunities, and then that'll let us do all of our filtering, right? So let's go ahead and do that. We need to go from location assignments to sales reps, then sales reps to opportunities. But we have what we need here, right? We have what we need. We see Albert Cruz, San Diego, same assignment. We see check there. I want to take this check next to his name, bring it next to all of the opportunities that is assigned to Albert Cruz, or right, and any other sales rep we have a assignment in common with. Okay, so I'll go click on settings. We will go to table-to-table relationships, and we're going to start with location assignments back to sales reps, right? So we're kind of overlapping, right? What we initially did, which is why this one I think is a bit more abstract and a bit more complex. But hopefully it shows kind of regardless what the table structure is, as long as you have that user field and it's connected in some way to the basically the tables you need to permission based off of, you can go back and forth, up and down, any direction, and make sure we have those right fields, right? So again, sales rep to location assignments. We're going to go from location assignment to sales reps. That's going to be summary fields. And same thing, we are going to check whether there are any location assignments related to that sales rep. And then the criteria, we're going to pick that lookup of the summary that sales rep has assignment in common with the current user, right? Which should be that very first one alphabetically and very long-winded, so we could see that. And it's really, it's going to name this any sales rep by default, but we're going to use the same naming convention there because it didn't change, right? We see a check mark next to a sales rep when they have the same assignment in common with the current user. So we'll click create, and again, same exact thing. So sales rep has same assignments as current user. Exactly the same as what we just did. All right, so we see that there. And then the last piece, hopefully at this point, you all know where we're going. We're going to go to sales reps to opportunities. Go to that sales rep table or opportunities table, doesn't matter. Go to settings. And we'll go to that relationship. And again, hopefully at this point, you're able to click ahead of me because you know exactly what I'm doing. We're going to go to that table-to-table relationship, and we are going to bring that current user field from sales rep to opportunity, right? So we're going from the parent table to the child table, right here to here. That's going to be a lookup. And we're going to pick our nice long-winded sales rep has the same assignment as current user. So I guess actually one thing we could do, this technically isn't 100% true because we'll see a check mark next to our own name. So we could rename this if we wanted to. I'm not going to, but you guys could if you want. Sales rep is current user or has same assignment, right? So basically, we're assigned to San Diego. We're going to see a check mark next to everybody who's assigned to San Diego, whether that's us or another sales rep assigned to the same place. So we'll click done. We will go to opportunities and make sure that's working. So again, Albert Cruz is our coworker in the San Diego branch. So we should see a check mark next to our name and next to his name. Go ahead and go to that opportunities table. Again, hopefully at this point, you can click ahead of me and you can go and you can make sure that that's doing what we want it to. Show more columns. Pick our current user field. Sales rep has the same assignment as current user or is the current user. But again, Albert Cruz, we see a check. Chris Baker, different branch. Colleen Garten, different branch. We don't see that. We see ourselves, and there's a check there. Okay. So the idea for this example was, hey, you know, the dashboard. So if you want to go ahead and click on home, we're not going to do every single report on here, but we'll do a couple together. So go ahead and go to the dashboard now, right? Once we've confirmed that that's working, and we see a bunch of reports. Okay. And so all we want to do is edit these reports to add the filter of our current user field. So same as we just did it in the roles and permissions before. Here, we're going to do it in the individual reports. But it's sort of the same idea. We're picking that current user field is equal to checked, so depending on kind of how we did things. But for locations, right, we can go ahead, customize this report. If you've done any report customizations, you should be able to fly through this. You just go there, click those little three lines in the top right of each widget, each report widget, click Customize Report. Brings you to this page. Next, scroll down to the Filters section. Check Filters, and then add our current user field there. Right, so current user is assigned to checked. Click Save. And we'll do one more together. We won't do all of them. I want to show the example. I didn't forget, Farah, about the multiple kind of sales rep, or the regional sales rep example. So we'll throw that in there. And then, you know, I want to make sure we have some Q&A. We got 15 minutes left. So we'll just do one more. Hopefully, you know, seeing those two, we'll do like opportunities list is a good one. You can do whatever ones you want. You can come back here. You can do all of them if you want to. But again, we are shorter on time. So we'll just do these two, but it's the same pattern, right? go to the report widget, click those little three lines, right, the little hamburger, click customize this report, go down to filters, pick our current user fields. We want to see when that is checked, right? Okay, so let's roll. Check on filter. Current user field is equal to checked. Okay. Awesome. So last piece, right? That we'll cover, then we'll do some Q&A and go back to if anyone needs to see the formulas again or want to go back to any screens, happy to do so. Multiple assignments. Hey, right? We got a promotion. We're no longer just assigned to San Diego. It's regional, right? I don't even remember what locations we have here, but right, we're going to get a second location that we need to see. We're maybe a branch manager, regional manager, something like that. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to go to our location assignments table. And if we want to do the same thing we did with the project teams and say, hey, what if we change teams? What does it look like? You could go to location assignments, click on edit on our existing assignment, change the location from San Diego to something else. You could still do that, but we're actually going to add a new assignment. And we are going to pick, again, it doesn't really matter. We're going to pick not San Diego. We're going to pick a different one so we have multiple locations, right? So sales rep, that should pick ourselves. If it doesn't automatically, go ahead and pick our own names there. And then location, again, just not San Diego, either Austin or Miami. That's fine. We'll go with Austin. We'll click save, right? Once we do that, right, so once we add a location assignment, as long as we pick our name, let's go see what that did, right? So we go to locations now. We're going to see a 1 not just next to San Diego. We're going to see a 1 next to San Diego and Austin, right? We might need to add the column, but in this case, it's there automatically, right? So we see, okay, these are the 2 location assignments I have, okay? We look at our dashboard now. And again, we only did 2. If you want to take some time and filter the rest of this, the whole dashboard would filter automatically. We can do that. But you could see, right, Austin and San Diego are our 2 locations. The opportunities list, if we added, some more columns here, we'd be able to see that. And even though we didn't even update sales rep, you can still see, right? Well, we would see sort of the check marks. So looks like Chris Baker was the only sales rep assigned to Austin, which is what I assigned myself to. If you did Miami, you would see probably Gregory Baxter and Colleen Garten. So if you did Austin, you'll see a check next to Chris Baker. And basically what that did is all of Chris Baker's opportunities, because he's the only sales rep in Austin, we're now able to see all of those or edit those or whatever we do with our reports or roles and permissions. Okay. If more, sales reps move to Austin or we hire more, right, we would see more opportunities based on those assignments. So again, same idea. It's a bit more complicated. Hopefully that answered the question on, what if there are multiple assignments, again, whether it's a department, a team, a location, a branch, whatever it is, how that's possible. Okay. And then one last time, we'll go look at that relationship diagram, which I should have just left open in a tab, but I accidentally clicked out. Again, don't need to follow me here because yours isn't going to be organized. But we'll go back here. And visualize what we just did. So we started sales rep as our user field, brought it down to location assignments, right? These are where you're assigned, up to locations, back down, back up, right? So that's that tricky part, right? Went from here to here, back here, back here. Great. Now we know all the sales reps that have, these locations in common or a location in common with us. We know who they are. Now we can see their opportunities. And if we wanted to, we can see their customers, right? Same idea. Okay. So that is all I had. Hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully everybody was able to build along with us without too much difficulty. Happy to answer some questions in the Q&A or, like I said, if anyone wants to go back, show the formula again or show any kind of individual pages, happy to jump back there as well. So if you have questions, go ahead and throw those in the chat. No questions so far. Awesome. Well, it looks like there's no questions, which is either really good or really bad. So hopefully it's good, and everyone was able to follow this. Again, if you need to revisit something, I wouldn't expect anyone to be able to just watch that and be able to go apply that instantly on your own. This will be uploaded to QuickBase University, so you go ahead and watch and rewind and skip ahead. So yeah, I think that's it. Hope everyone has a good last day of Empower. Thank you all for coming.